Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, House of Representatives suspends its former Appropriation Committee chairman for breach of House practices. Jibrin dismisses decision as inconsequential. Large turnout in the Edo State governorship election as poll is adjudged peaceful. Motion on jurisdiction stalls trial of the Senate President, his deputy, and two others over allegations of forgery. And world leaders pay tribute to former Israeli President Shimon Peres as he dies at the age of 93.
And on business news tonight, global oil prices surged 6% as OPEC members agreed to cut output to 32.5 million barrels per day in November.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria Professional Football League winners to earn a whopping 90 million naira prize money for the season.
I'm Linda Kibe, and from Abuja, Indian Vice President speaks at the National Defense College, Abuja, advocates international legal reforms to combat terrorism.
We begin tonight in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where the House of Representatives today suspended the former chairman of the House Committee on Appropriation, Abdulmumin Jibrin, for 180 sitting days for breaching House practices and precedents. This follows the adoption of recommendations made by the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges. The lawmakers are also demanding a written apology from Jibrin before he will be allowed to resume his legislative duties. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
The allegations of corruption against...
It's exactly 1 week since the House of Representatives mandated its Committee on Ethics and Privileges to investigate allegations of breach of privileges brought against the former chairman of the House Committee on Appropriation, Representative Abdulmumin Jibrin. As the day's plenary session commences, the chairman of the Committee on Ethics presents the committee's report to the House. After considering other matters, the House returns to consider the report in the Committee of the Whole. The chairman of the Ethics Committee gives members a summary of the findings of the committee.
The committee found that those statements were broad sweeping without proof. Consequently, the committee views those statements as injurious, scandalous, and denigrating to the House as an institution.
He then puts forward the committee's recommendations.
The House, by this resolution, further regulates its procedure and accordingly suspend Honorable Jibrin for 180 legislative sitting days. Honorable Jibrin is required to tender a formal written apology to the House prior to his future resumption of duties in the House.
The Deputy Speaker, who is presiding, then puts the recommendations to a vote.
5.01, 5.02, 5.03, 5.04. Those in support of the motion that the report be adopted say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The House says as a self-regulatory institution, it has the mechanism in place for aggrieved members of the House to explore when seeking relief. Mechanisms Representative Jibrin failed to take advantage of. The House says these reprimands are in line with their standing rules and code of conduct for members of the House of Representatives. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Abdulmumin Jibrin has described the House's pronouncements as inconsequential and a waste of time. He also says today's action is in contempt of court proceedings and insists he will not issue any apology over allegations raised by the committee.
It was a complete mess and a waste of time. And I think whatever product comes out of that process, as far as I'm concerned, it's completely inconsequential and it cannot stand anywhere. And don't also forget that the matter is in court, is a subject of litigation. While I wait for the formal correspondence from the House, I have in anticipation instructed my lawyer Femi Falana to charge Speaker Dugara for contempt because he's aware the matter is in court, and he went ahead to table the matter before the House, refer it to the Ethics Committee, and of course, predictably, this is what they wanted. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a non-issue. But I can tell you very clearly, I will never, ever apologize to anybody in the House of Representatives. I did not commit any offense. I didn't do anything wrong. I've said it repeatedly in the 5 years that I've spent in the House of Representatives. I have never abused my office. I have never corruptly enriched myself. So I have no reason to apologize to anybody.
From the lawmakers, results are now being awaited in the Edo State governorship election. Vote counting ended at about 5 p.m., while results compilation started immediately after in wards and local council areas. Attention now shifts to the Independent National Electoral Commission headquarters in Benin City, the state capital, where the stage is set for announcement of verified results. Observers have described the exercise as largely peaceful. However, cases of ballot box snatching were reported at some polling stations.
After the initial postponement, polling day finally arrives in Edo State. Residents turn out in their numbers to elect a new governor. In some locations, it's a carnival-like atmosphere, with food vendors doing brisk business catering to the needs of voters waiting to cast their ballots. For this election, there's a slight modification of the voting process, with simultaneous accreditation and voting, as explained by the INEC National Commissioner.
It allows more voters to come out. It reduces apathy because most elites didn't like the old system, but they can now come and vote peacefully and go back to their homes. And the card reader has actually shortened the period of election.
So far, the conduct of the exercise has gone down well with agents of some of the participating political parties.
Well, the exercise, I've seen that the exercise goes smoothly. Well, the problem that we are having, we are not waiting for them to start the counting. That is what we are after now.
It's moved smoothly, no wahala, no problem.
However, there are concerns raised by election observers, particularly the huge cost of conducting the polls.
I think it diminishes us as a people that we have to throw 25,000, 20,000 drones, helicopters into a state election. I think there is something that is not sitting well with that. It has something to do with our mentality as a people. We shut down the economy of Edo State. We shut down the economy of adjoining states. And we're dealing with a place where majority of our citizens are in the informal sector. So going forward, a conversation needs to start about how we can depolice our elections.
At the polling centers, ad hoc officials supervise the collation of results, followed by jubilation among supporters of victorious candidates. But that may be premature because it's not yet done and dusted. All roads lead to the INEC Collation Center in Benin City, where the final results are expected to be announced. Charles Eruka for Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, some candidates in the governorship race have been speaking on what they observed during the polls. Flag bearer for the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Mr. Osaro Onaiwu, has called for an outright cancellation of the entire election over alleged malpractice. The candidate for the People's Democratic Party claims that attempts were made to rig the election. On his part, Godwin Obaseki of the All Progressives Congress called on residents to adhere to the rule of law.
I just believe that it's going to be inconclusive. There has to be a because there's a lot of damage already. Ologbo, there was no election in Olugbo. In Oluku, there was no election in Oluku. So whatever result they are bringing out from Olugbo and Oluku is not going to be acceptable by us.
In spite of all that we have heard, especially attempting to smuggle in results at the World and the AGA collation, we are confident that these plans will not work.
What is important is that we don't lose lives, we don't spill blood. My hope is that we have a very peaceful election and that at the end of the day we will strengthen our democracy.
Let's take you now to Benin City, where our political correspondent Sheon Kimbalo is standing by with the latest on the elections held in Edo State today. Hi, Sheon.
Hi, Amara. And welcome to Benin City, the capital of Edo State, where we'll be monitoring the governorship election that was rescheduled 2 weeks ago. Of course, everybody has been expecting the results. And here we are at the collation center, where everyone, including the party agents, political parties, INEC officials, and of course the media, will be monitoring the coverage of the results of the Edo governorship election. But let me tell you that INEC is monitoring remotely what is happening on the field. The man that can tell us right now is the Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC, Prince Solomon Shoyabi, joins us on the News at 10. National Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10. Let me start by asking you, we all are here, and these seats are still empty. What are we waiting for? When are we going to get the results of this election?
Well, we are all waiting for the results of this election. When I say we, I mean the whole nation, and specifically the good people of Edo State are waiting for the outcome of the elections. This is the room where a return will be made. This is the final collation center or the constituency collation center. So that's what everybody is waiting for.
How many results do you have now as we speak?
Well, as I'm talking to you, physically there is none here. But I'm telling you some results already. From tracking, we know that.
Okay, we have 18 local government areas. How many local government areas can you confirm that are already in?
I'm not sure of the figure, but I'm sure some results already.
4, 5?
No, I won't answer the guess. Don't let me lie.
Okay. All right. How have they gone today, considering the fact that INEC had enough, about 2 weeks more to prepare. The security agencies had more time to prepare. Would you say that things went in the way you planned it before now?
Well, so far, so good. That is the word to use. This is one of the most beautiful elections we've conducted in recent times. It was very peaceful. There was large voters turnout. The good people of Edo State conducted themselves very properly. There were very little incidences of violence. There were pockets of snatching, ballot box snatching, but then it's minimal compared to expectation. Generally, I think it went very well. So far, so good.
Would you say that this is perhaps the best election INEC has conducted under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that.
You've had inconclusive elections, but this time around?
These results, we are not even sure this is not going to be inconclusive too. I told you yesterday, the process has to be followed. There has never been a difference between this process and the one we've adopted before. It's the environment that has dictated whether the election will be conclusive or not. But I think this environment is very, very conducive for a conclusive election. And from what I believe is happening, when we have two strong candidates running neck to neck, you are risking inconclusiveness again. I can really give you that.
Prince Solomon Shoyabi, we have to go now. Many thanks for talking to us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
The National Commissioner of INEC in charge of voter education and publicity here, where we're monitoring the INEC collation of results. It's back to you now, Amara.
Thanks a lot, Shell. A long night it looks like it's going to be for you. I do hope you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee to keep you awake. In part two, after the break, police arrest 2 suspects said to be linked with the kidnap of 4 persons in the Sherry area of Lagos-Ogun State border. Please join us again.